The twin suns of Zareth slowly dipped behind the purple mountains, casting long shadows over the crystal city. The air shimmered with warmth, and the people of Zareth moved calmly through the glowing streets. Peace had lived here for thousands of years. Wars were stories from ancient times, forgotten and buried. In the middle of the capital, a small alien crowd gathered near the landing platform. A sleek black ship touched down silently. Its surface was smooth like water, without any visible weapons. The ship bore one symbol on its side, the Earth insignia. The Zarethi people whispered to one another, "Is this really a human vessel?" They said humans are gentle. They talk more than they fight. A peaceful race from a distant blue world. Then, the door of the ship opened. A human man stepped out. He was tall, calm, and dressed in a simple dark uniform. His name was Captain Raylan Voss. His face held a soft smile, and his eyes were sharp but kind. No weapons, no armor, no guards, just him. Princess Sareth Valnora, heir to the Zareth throne, waited to greet him. She wore a long, flowing robe of white silk and a crystal circlet on her head. She bowed slightly. "Welcome to Zareth, Captain Raylan. We are honored." Raylan gave a small nod. "The honor is mine, Princess Sareth. Earth is grateful for your invitation." Their hands met briefly, a human custom. The moment passed gently. The air remained warm, polite. But something felt hidden, something deep behind Raylan's quiet voice. They walked through the city. Zareth glowed under the stars. Floating orbs of light danced above the walkways. The citizens bowed and smiled at the human visitor. Children giggled and pointed. The elders whispered with pride. Sareth turned to Raylan. "Your world. It's very far. Some here think humans are soft, too emotional, too peaceful." Raylan smiled gently. "Peace is a beautiful thing, but only the strong can protect it." Sareth paused. Something about his words, they echoed strangely. At the royal palace, a grand feast was prepared. Music played. Aliens with silver wings danced in the sky. Beasts tamed by Zarethi trainers marched proudly. The nobles praised Earth and raised glasses in toast. "To the kind. Humans," one of them laughed. "They bring peace and maybe good stories too." Everyone laughed except Raylan. He sipped his drink quietly, watching everything. Then an older Zarethi general stood up, slightly drunk. "Tell me, human, is it true? You've never fought in a real war?" The table went silent. Eyes turned to Raylan. Raylan did not react for a moment. Then he placed his glass down and smiled kindly. "Oh, we've had wars, General. We just stopped needing them, after we became very, very good at them." The general chuckled. "A diplomat's answer." But Princess Sareth noticed something. In that short moment, Raylan's eyes had darkened. His smile didn't reach his eyes. It was only a mask. Later that night, Sareth stood on her palace balcony looking up at the stars. Something about Raylan disturbed her. He was kind, yes, polite, peaceful, but there was something deeper, something coiled and quiet inside him. Like a blade hidden in silk, she couldn't sleep. Curiosity burned in her mind, so she did something bold. She ordered the palace AI to unlock the guest wing. Quietly, she made her way to Raylan's quarters. She knew it was wrong. But she was the princess, protector of her people. She had to know who this human really was. She stepped inside the guest room. It was dark, clean, simple. A small, glowing cube floated in the center of the room. She moved closer. The cube reacted to her presence. It flashed and opened. A projection appeared, not of flowers or peace treaties, but of Earth's history. Explosions, machines of war. Great beasts with fire in their mouths. Human soldiers in black armor walking through ruined cities, planet after planet. Burning. Sareth's eyes widened. Her skin grew cold. This wasn't peace. This was power, hidden in silence. A sudden voice spoke behind her. "You shouldn't be in here, princess." Sareth turned sharply. Raylan stood in the doorway. His calm face was unchanged, but his eyes now held something more: warning and sadness. Sareth backed away. "Is this who you really are?" Raylan walked slowly toward the cube and closed it with one touch. The room returned to darkness. "We don't show this to many," he said softly, "because once you see it, you'll never see us the same way again." Sareth whispered, "Why did you come here?" Raylan looked out the window. "Because your people believe peace is safe, but peace only lives when someone is strong enough to protect it from the dark." Sareth didn't speak. Raylan turned to her, voice quiet as a blade. "We bring friendship. Princess, but never forget we are from Earth, and Earth remembers everything." Princess Sareth couldn't sleep. Even after seeing Earth's violent past through the strange cube in Captain Raylan's room, her questions only grew. What kind of species smiled like poets, but kept wars like weapons in their pockets? She walked alone through the royal library, past crystal bookshelves and glowing scrolls. Her ancestors believed in peace, in balance. But had they prepared her for this? Suddenly, her communicator blinked. A secret message. No name. Only coordinates. She hesitated, but followed. The message led her to an old sky tower above the palace. She rode the silent lift, heart beating faster with each level. The top opened to a dark observation deck. A figure stood there, back turned to her. "Captain Raylan." "Who sent the message?" she asked. Raylan turned, calm as ever. "I did. I thought you might come." She stepped forward slowly. "Why?" "You've seen enough to start asking real questions," he said. "Now it's time you see the answers." Without warning, the floor beneath them shimmered. They were no longer in the tower. The air bent around them, and the world changed. Sareth gasped. They stood in a massive white room floating in space. Hundreds of holograms filled the air: battlefields, strange weapons, war beasts, starships firing through black skies. Not videos, simulations, realistic, terrifying. Raylan raised one hand. The simulations responded. One showed a planet cracking apart under pressure. Another showed a squad of humans taking down a monstrous creature 10 times their size. Sareth stumbled back. "These are from Earth?" Raylan nodded. "These are exercises for our young, for those who train to protect Earth and everything we choose to care about." She stared at the scene. "But you came to us in peace." "We always offer peace first," Raylan said. His voice was low, almost tired. "But if that fails, we offer something else." Sareth clenched her fist. "Are you threatening us?" Raylan looked at her with strange pity. "No, I'm preparing you." Outside the palace, the Zarethi Council watched from their security chamber. They had secretly placed trackers on Sareth after her strange behavior the previous night. Now, they saw everything through a live feed. One counselor grunted, "They train children in war?" Another hissed, "So humans are not peaceful. They're monsters in masks." But the head counselor shook his head. "No, they're something worse. They're capable." Back in the simulation room, Raylan turned to Sareth. "I know what your people say about us, that we are kind, curious, emotional." He pointed at a frozen image of Earth soldiers helping alien refugees. "They're right." Then he pointed at a different image, an enemy fleet torn apart in seconds. "And they're also right about this." Sareth's voice was cold now. "Why are you showing me this?" Raylan looked at her, his voice heavy. "Because I like your people, Princess. You have art, harmony, wisdom, but your enemies don't care about that. One day, something will come for you, and you won't have time to send invitations." He stepped closer. "We don't want you to kneel to us, but if you stand with us, we'll make sure no one ever kneels you again." Just then, a sharp alarm rang out. An explosion rocked the palace. Raylan's expression didn't change. "Right on time," he said. Sareth shouted, "What was that?" Raylan turned to the simulation controls and pulled up a live feed. Zarethi, rebels, angry at the idea of trusting Earth, had attacked the outer city gates. They wanted to show humans they weren't afraid. Raylan calmly tapped the screen. A signal was sent. Within seconds, a black human drone ship appeared above the rebel zone. It released a pulse, silent, invisible to Zarethi eyes. The rebels froze. Their bodies stiffened. They dropped to the ground, alive, unharmed, but completely unconscious. Sareth stared in disbelief. What? What did you do? Raylan didn't smile this time. I stopped a war before it began. No fire, no death, just control. The simulation faded. They were back on the sky tower. Sareth looked at him, shaken. So that's your power. Control without chaos. Raylan looked up at the stars. No. That's our mercy. The Zarethi High Council called an emergency meeting. After the palace explosion and the strange black drone that disabled the rebels without a sound, fear spread across the city like a virus. The people whispered now, not about Earth's kindness, but its silent strength. Inside the marble chamber, voices rose in argument. Humans are not peaceful. That was a weapon. No blood was spilled, but they showed us they could spill it. Anytime. Princess Sareth stood silent. She had seen it up close. The simulations, the power, the way Captain Raylan controlled everything without ever raising his voice. The council leader finally spoke. We need answers. We need to see what humans can really do. Not stories, not words, a real test. That's when Sareth suggested something bold. Invite Raylan to the arena. The room fell silent. Later that day, Captain Raylan stood on the edge of Zareth's grand arena. It was a legendary place, home to mock battles, games of honor, and training sessions watched by thousands. But no human had ever stepped inside. Now, the arena was packed. Alien nobles, warriors, students, and diplomats filled every seat. The air buzzed with nervous energy. Raylan stood alone in the center. No armor, no weapon, only his calm eyes scanning the crowd. The announcer's voice echoed through the dome. To test the strength of Earth's peaceful visitor, we present Zareth's finest warriors, the Bladeborn 5. The doors opened, and 5 towering warriors entered, each trained in a different alien combat art. One had energy claws. Another had a whip of light. All of them looked at Raylan like he was prey. The crowd leaned forward. Some hoped the humans were bluffing. Others feared they weren't. The battle began. Raylan didn't move at first. The warriors attacked together. Quick, fierce, coordinated. Energy flashed. Blades slashed. But every time a strike came close, Raylan shifted just enough to avoid it. He didn't fight back. He didn't even raise his hands. He simply read them like a book. Then, without warning, he moved. A flick of his foot tripped one attacker. A sharp twist of his body caused another's punch to strike a teammate. He used their strength against them. In less than 60 seconds, all 5 Zarethi warriors were lying on the ground, disarmed, confused, breathing hard. Raylan hadn't even broken a sweat. The crowd sat in stunned silence. No blood, no death, but total domination. The announcer stammered, "Round, over." But Raylan wasn't finished. He walked toward the council booth. That was skill. Now, let me show you something else. He tapped a small device on his wrist. The air above the arena shimmered, and suddenly, a new figure appeared. A young human girl, no older than 14, walked into the arena holding a strange, glowing cube. Gasps filled the air. A child? Is this a joke? Then the cube opened. From it emerged a training drone. A small flying machine shaped like a metal orb with glowing red eyes. At first, the crowd laughed. Then it attacked. The drone moved like lightning, firing non-lethal bolts, dodging incoming shots, responding to the girl's hand gestures with perfect precision. The girl danced with it, smiling. Then came the shock. A Zarethi battle robot, once used in real wars, was released as a surprise challenge. The girl looked at it, nodded, and her drone switched modes. In seconds, it disabled the war machine. Not destroyed, just shut it down clean and fast. The audience rose to their feet, many with mouths open. A child from Earth had just neutralized their past military pride. Princess Sareth watched from the royal balcony. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with realization. This is what humanity calls training. This is how they prepare their young. While Zarethi, children learn music and art, Earth teaches survival, tactics, and control. Captain Raylan turned to the crowd and spoke into the arena's voice amplifiers. Peace is our gift, but strength is our language. Then he left the arena, silently, like a shadow walking away from a battlefield. Back in the council chambers, the discussion was no longer about if the humans were powerful. Now it was about something more terrifying. Why were they being so polite? Princess, Sareth could still hear the echoes from the arena. A child, a human child, had defeated their old war machine with a floating ball no larger than a fruit, and Captain Raylan had called it training. Her people had laughed at humans, called them soft, gentle. Now many of those same voices were silent, but Sareth wasn't silent inside. Her mind was spinning. She didn't fear Earth. She feared what she didn't know about Earth. She needed answers. Late that night, Sareth walked alone through the royal hangar. The guards didn't question her. She was the princess. No one did. She approached Raylan's ship, a silent black spear in the darkness. It hummed with life but didn't move. She placed her hand on the side. To her surprise, the door opened. Either Raylan expected her, or he had allowed it. She stepped inside. The hallway glowed with soft blue light. Walls were smooth, metallic, and cold. No guards, no AI voice, just silence. She followed the hum toward the command room. There, in the center, was a floating crystal sphere, not a screen, not a console, but a living archive glowing and pulsing. She reached out. It responded to her touch. Without warning, the air shifted, and the truth began to show itself. The projection started slowly. Archive. Earth. Conflict history. Images filled the room. Cities burning. Skies filled with fire. Titans made of steel, tearing each other apart. Nuclear blasts rising like false suns. Human soldiers moving through the smoke. Some screaming, some singing, some carrying children while bleeding. She covered her mouth, but it didn't stop. Archive. Bioweapons testing. Genetically modified creatures, hulking monsters designed for war. Some with skin tougher than metal, some with minds linked to human commanders. Archive. Psychological warfare. Earth's enemies driven insane by sound, by illusion, by pure fear. One clip showed a single human operative walk into an alien city and cause a rebellion within 48 hours, without a single weapon. Then came a final folder. Zareth. Strategic assessment. Her heart skipped. She opened the file. Inside were blueprints of her own planet. Defense towers, fleet paths, energy sources, guard rotations. Every secret, every single one. Labeled. Observation complete. Threat level, low. Infiltration, easy. Recommendation, soft influence preferred. Hard control, optional. She stepped back, breathless. They had been studying Zareth for years, smiling, talking, pretending to be friends, all while building a full attack plan in case peace failed. She heard a voice behind her. You weren't supposed to see that. She turned sharply. Captain Raylan stood at the door. Calm, not angry, not even surprised. Sareth's voice trembled. You planned for war with us? Raylan stepped forward. We plan for war with everyone, that's how we avoid it. Sareth backed away, shaking her head. So this was all fake? The smiles, the peace? Was it all a trap? Raylan walked to the crystal sphere and slowly shut it down. The images vanished and the room dimmed. No, it wasn't fake, he said quietly. But peace is not something we hope for. It's something we secure. She stared at him. You studied us like prey. We study everyone like prey, because we've been prey before, and will never be again. Raylan sat down in the captain's chair. He looked tired now. Not proud, not threatening. Just real. He motioned to a second seat. Sareth hesitated, but sat. He leaned forward. I was born on a world that burned, not because we wanted war, but because we trusted peace too much. We waited, we hoped, and we paid the price. Sareth whispered, "How many planets have you done this to?" Raylan didn't answer directly. He only said, "The ones that survived. They're the ones who listened." She clenched her fists. "And what happens to those who don't listen?" Raylan's eyes met hers. They disappear. Silence. The ship hummed softly. Then Raylan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small cube. Different from before. This one pulsed red. He placed it in her hand. "What is this?" she asked. "A choice," he said. "If you activate it, Earth will send full support. Defense tech, shared knowledge, trade, true alliance. And if I don't," she asked quietly, "then you'll face the future without us and others. Far worse than us. Will come." Sareth looked down at the cube. It was small, silent, harmless looking, but inside it was the power to decide the fate of her people. She didn't speak again. She walked out of the ship, the cube still in her hand. Far above Zareth, deep in space, a hidden Earth vessel listened. A message came in. "Zareth Princess has seen the truth, awaiting final response." And in the shadows of the galaxy, something else stirred. Princess Sareth stood before the High Council of Zareth, the cube from Captain Raylan still in her hand. The glowing red device looked innocent, but it was not. It was a question, a threat, a promise, all packed into one smooth object, no bigger than her palm. The council room was filled with murmurs. The elders sat in their high chairs, arranged in a circle like stars around a dying sun. Each one wore flowing robes, their faces lined with wisdom. And now, fear. Sareth placed the cube gently on the council table. "This is Earth's offer," she said, her voice calm but heavy. "If we accept, we become allies, protected. If we refuse, we stand alone." An elder leaned forward, his green skin paling. "And if we say yes, do we become their pets?" Another snapped. "Or their slaves?" Sareth shook her head. "No. Captain Raylan made it clear. Earth doesn't want rulers. They want partners, but they will not accept weakness." An old warrior counselor stood. "Then let them come, let them try. We were warriors long before they flew between stars." The room burst into noise. Some shouted in agreement. Others demanded silence. On the Council of Peace had not seen such division in centuries. High Elder Valir, the oldest among them, raised his hand. The room stilled. "We must vote," he said. But before anyone could speak, one of the crystal guards rushed in, breathless. "My lords, princess, there's been a break-in. The outer vault, someone accessed restricted technology, plan stolen." "Stolen?" Sareth turned sharply. "What was taken?" The guard's voice shook. "Files from our ancient war vaults, energy weapon research, forbidden schematics, defensive plans." A silence fell again, but this time, darker. Sareth knew what it meant. Someone wanted war. Later that night, in a hidden chamber beneath the palace, Sareth met with her closest advisor, Counselor Thalon. He had once been her tutor in history, now her only trusted voice. "You think it's an inside job?" she asked. Thalon nodded slowly. "There are whispers. Some council members do not want peace. They see Earth's strength, and they feel small, so they cling to violence to feel large again." Sareth held her head. "We are about to be crushed, between two worlds, one too powerful, the other too proud." Thalon leaned closer. "Not if you do what only a true leader can do." Not if you choose with both heart and blade. Sareth looked down at the cube, still glowing, still waiting. Far away in the shadowy market districts of Zareth, a secret meeting took place in a smoke-filled cave. 5 robed figures stood in a circle, alien radicals who refused to bow to Earth or anyone. They called themselves the Flame Circle, and they had already begun to build something, using the stolen plans. "We will strike the humans first," their leader hissed. "While they smile, we sharpen knives." They activated a hidden forge, and from it, a dark device rose, shaped like a jewel, powered by stolen energy, designed to disable Earth tech. "We will remind them. We are not animals to be studied. We are stars born of fire." The next day, the council gathered again, and the vote began. Out of 19 council members, 8 voted for peace. 7 voted for war. 4 refused to choose. The room descended into chaos. One elder shouted, "This proves Earth already controls us. Look how we fight like insects." Another yelled back, "Earth didn't divide us. Our fear did." Sareth raised her hand. "Enough." Everyone stopped. She stepped forward. "You all speak of fear, of pride, of history, but you forget something. This is not just about Earth, this is about us. Our survival, our future, what kind of galaxy we want to live in." She turned to the silent group of 4. "Choose now, or your silence will become your shame." 1. By 1, 2 stepped forward and voted for peace. The vote tipped. 10 for peace, 7 for war. 2 abstained. Peace had won, for now. But as the council relaxed, a sharp blast shook the chamber. Smoke, screams, crystals shattered from the ceiling. Sareth was thrown to the floor. Through the dust, she saw a figure running, one of the council elders, a war supporter escaping with a glowing black sphere in hand. Raylan's voice echoed suddenly through her hidden communicator. "Sareth, I'm tracking a stolen Earth disruption bomb. It's being activated inside your palace." Her blood froze. It wasn't just a rebellion. It was sabotage. Outside, the human diplomatic ship launched into the sky. Its wings unfolded. Like metal feathers, it locked onto the signal and began descending fast. Inside the control chamber, Raylan gave a single order. Non-lethal intervention. Target, Rogue Zarethi operatives. Priority, protect Princess Sareth. A black pod shot from the ship and struck the council tower. Smoke cleared, and from it stepped an Earth security unit, humanoid. Silent, no weapons drawn. But eyes glowing, the rogue elder tried to run, but the unit moved faster than anything the Zarethi had seen. With one smooth move, it snatched the bomb and crushed it between its palms. Raylan arrived seconds later. The council stared at him, terrified. He didn't speak to them. He walked straight to Sareth. "You made the right choice," he said. Sareth stood, shaken but proud. "Not everyone agrees." Raylan looked at the remaining council members. "They will." He turned to leave, but looked back once more. "Earth doesn't demand obedience, but we protect those who choose survival." As night fell again over Zareth, Sareth stood alone, on her tower. She looked at the cube in her hand, now glowing blue. She had made a decision, but she knew this was only the beginning. In deep space, enemies watched, and Earth was already preparing for them. The Earth vessel hovered silently above Zareth, its dark surface reflecting the twin suns. Inside the command chamber, Captain Raylan stood before a glowing screen, studying the patterns of war, peace, and politics unfolding on this alien world. But this was no longer about politics. Now it was about trust, and trust must be earned. Princess Sareth stepped into the main hangar of the Earth vessel, dressed not in her royal robes, but in a simple training uniform provided by Raylan's crew. Her long white hair was tied back. Her face was calm, but inside, storms raged. Raylan stood at the center of the hangar. Behind him, a massive circular platform pulsed with light, the simulation core. He nodded to her. "Thank you for coming." I didn't come to impress you, she said. I came for my people. Raylan gave a small smile. That's why we chose you. Sareth was guided into the center of the simulation core. As she stood on the glowing disk, a soft hum filled the air. Her skin prickled. Lights danced around her. Raylan's voice echoed around the chamber. This is not a battle, not a war. This is the final test. It is the same test given to human commanders, those who protect Earth's future. You will face a scenario, you will lead, you will make choices, and you will understand what kind of leader you are. You may fail. That is acceptable. But if you run, the test ends permanently. Sareth closed her eyes. I won't run. Suddenly the light exploded around her, and she was no longer in the ship. She stood in a broken city. Smoke filled the air. Fire burned across alien rooftops. The ground shook beneath her feet. A holographic AI spoke in her ear. You are Commander Sareth. This is Zareth after a surprise invasion. The enemy has surrounded your city. Civilians are trapped. Your power grid is down. You have limited soldiers and one chance to act. 3 objectives. Evacuate the innocent. Secure the generator. Face the invaders. You will choose. You will lose. And you must live with it. Sareth ran toward the ruins. She found panicked civilians trapped under rubble. Children, crying. A father holding his daughter, his legs crushed. She screamed for help, but no one came. Just 3 soldiers followed her. One asked, "Do we save the people? Or go for the generator?" Her heart raced. She looked at the child, then at the glowing tower far away. If the generator fell, the enemy would win. But if she left now, these people would die. She made a decision. Split up, she said. Half with me, half with them. We save both. The simulation reacted immediately. The enemy pushed harder. Explosions rained from above. Fire rained from the sky. One of her soldiers died protecting a school bus. The AI whispered coldly, "Your decision cost a life." Sareth clenched her jaw, but the civilians were safe. The generator was secured. And then, the invader appeared. A monstrous alien beast, twice the size of a hover tank, crashed through the city gate. Covered in armor, it roared with plasma breath. Behind it, dozens of elite enemy soldiers. Sareth stood before them with only 2 weapons and fewer soldiers. She turned to her group. "We don't fight to win," she said. "We fight to matter," and she charged. The simulation blurred with chaos, screams, blades, blood, fire. Sareth fought like never before. Not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as someone who chose others before herself. She was struck twice, burned once. A spear sliced her shoulder. She fell, but got up again. Her last move was to throw a live grenade under the enemy walker. The beast exploded. Then darkness swallowed everything. When her eyes opened again, she was back in the simulation core, lying on the floor, breathing hard, bleeding. Not real blood, but it felt real. Raylan stood over her. "You died in the end," he said. "I saved them," she whispered. Raylan nodded. Yes. He tapped a screen. The word "past" appeared. Later, she stood in front of Earth's diplomats. No crowd, no press, just quiet approval. Raylan approached her, more respectful than ever. "You faced loss. You chose compassion without cowardice. You made hard decisions without blaming others." He reached into his coat and gave her a new cube. This one pulsed gold. "You are now Earth's recognized ally." Sareth returned to Zareth with scars no one could see, but wisdom everyone could feel. Some still whispered, some still doubted. But no one challenged her again, because now, she was not just a princess. She was someone Earth had tested and trusted, and that meant more than any crown. The sky above Zareth had changed, not in color, but in feeling. Once calm, soft, and full of stars, now it carried a silent weight. The people walked slower, Their laughter, though present, had an edge to it, as if peace still lived here, but with a bodyguard watching in the shadows. At the heart of it all was Princess Zareth. But she was no longer just a princess. She was Earth's ally, and she had passed the test no Zarethi had ever imagined. In the royal chambers she stood alone, holding the golden cube given to her by Captain Raylan. It pulsed in her palm with slow, steady light, alive, connected, powerful. Behind her, the great glass walls looked out over the capital city. Alien birds flew in formation. Energy crystals pulsed across the skyline. But her eyes were not on beauty. Her eyes were on the incoming data scroll projected before her. Details of what Earth had sent. Defense grid schematics, medical nano-swarm programs, trade routes for 10 systems, black site threat alerts in the outer fringe. It was more than an alliance. It was adoption into a greater force. But then the final line blinked onto the scroll. Galactic signal intercept. Empire-class threat detected. Coordinates near Zareth. Zareth's hand clenched the cube. The shadows were coming. 3 days later, in the war chamber of Zareth's defense center, Earth officers stood alongside Zarethi generals. Holograms of enemy ships, unidentified, massive, drifted above the round table. The creatures piloting them were unknown, their language unreadable, but their movement was clear. They're hunting. They're testing weak systems. They've wiped 2 outer worlds already, Zareth spoke calmly. Are they coming for us? Raylan's voice was flat. They're coming for anyone not ready. General Kor, once a war-supporting elder who had doubted Earth, leaned forward. So we strike first? Raylan shook his head. We observe. And we prepare. Earth doesn't strike out of fear. Earth strikes when there's no other choice. That night Zareth walked the empty gardens of the palace. A single moon glowed above, pale and watching. Raylan joined her quietly. She didn't look at him. Why do humans avoid war, Raylan? She asked. He took a long breath. Because it's too easy for us to win, he said. She turned, shocked. That's arrogant. He nodded. It is, but it's also true. He gestured to the stars. We learned long ago that war gives us no glory. We're too efficient. We don't just beat enemies, we erase them. That's why we stopped fighting with pride and started fighting with sorrow. She was silent for a moment. Then she asked the question she had feared most. And if Zareth had failed the test? Raylan didn't hesitate. You'd have disappeared. The wind blew cold through the alien trees. Zareth gripped her arms. And do you feel anything? When that happens, Raylan's voice was soft. We feel too much. That's why we try not to do it. He looked at her with honest eyes. You passed. You saw your people as more than tradition. You chose their future over your pride. That's rare, even among humans. Suddenly a sharp alarm lit the sky. Red pulses fired into the air. Incoming ships. Unidentified. Dozens. Zareth and Raylan ran to the nearest command deck. In orbit, Zareth's satellites caught the image. The Empire-class threat had arrived. Ships shaped like blades, engines glowing red. Thousands of life forms inside. None human, none friendly. They sent no warning, only one signal. Surrender your world. Or be rewritten. Zareth turned to Raylan. Is this where we test Earth's promise? Raylan tapped a control. No, this is where we show them. Peace has teeth. From the far side of space, Earth's black ships entered the system. No sound. No grand arrival. They simply appeared. One by one, sleek war cruisers moved into defense formation above Zareth. They locked onto the invaders without firing a shot. The enemy ships paused. They scanned Earth's fleet. Then they sent a new message. Earth, we did not know this was your pet. Earth responded, not our pet, our partner. Then the enemy ships hesitated. They turned and they left. Without a fight. Without a word. The next day, the capital city held a silent gathering. No cheering, no celebration, just understanding. Zareth had been spared, not because they had power, but because they had chosen an alliance with something far more dangerous than the invaders, something that chose not to destroy. Later, in a quiet hall, Zareth sat with a group of young Zarethi children. They asked her questions. Are the humans gods? No, she smiled. They're just people. Why did they help us? Because we asked with truth in our hearts. One child raised a hand. Will they come again? Zareth nodded. Not to rule, but always to watch. Far above, in the orbiting ship, Raylan looked at Zareth's peaceful surface. A younger, human officer asked him, "Why didn't we just blow them out of the sky?" Raylan smiled sadly. Because true strength doesn't roar. He walked away, the stars reflected in his eyes. Epilogue. Years later, Zareth thrived. With Earth's help, their technology evolved. Their people expanded. Their enemies never returned. But more importantly, they changed from the inside. They learned to protect peace with strength, to speak gently, but hold steel beneath the words. And in the great Zarethi University, a quote from Earth was carved into crystal. We don't fight because we love war. We fight because we love what comes after it. Earth Command,